Hello, and welcome back to No One Is Coming. The Answer Is You, your personal development podcast. I'm your host, Ofri Fuchs, and today I'm talking to you about loneliness, which is a very, very hot topic in today's world, and naturally so. We're going to talk about why loneliness happens, how we make it worse, and how, of course, because this is what I'm here to do, how can we make it better? So, that being said, let's dive in. In a world where we often find ourselves waiting for someone to come and save us, it's time to embrace one powerful truth. I hate to tell you this, but no one is coming. The answer is you. Welcome to the podcast that empowers you to take charge of your life and unleash your true potential. I'm your host, Ofri Fuchs, and I'm thrilled to embark on this transformative journey with you. So, if you're ready to embark on a journey full of self-discovery, growth, and actually take responsibility for your life, then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you're here. Now let's rock and roll. Hello, and welcome back to No One Is Coming. The Answer Is You, your personal development space podcast to create your life, to live your full potential, and to empower you. I'm your host, Ofri Fuchs. I am a personal life coach. I'm a public speaker, and I'm a holistic healer, if you may, because I do believe in the combination of mind, body, and spirit. And today, with that being said, today I'm talking about just that, how the outside world can affect, or in a weird way, it can be contrasting to our inner world. And I'm talking about loneliness. And as you all know, in today's world, we're living in a very high-paced world, in a very connected world due to social media. And it seems like everyone is connected, everything is achievable, everything is doable, everything is just in the palm of our hand, literally. And yet, a lot of us feel quite lonely. A lot of us feel quite disconnected. And it's quite interesting how it works, right? The more we are connected, the more options we have, the more lonely we feel, the more disconnected we are, the more disempowered we are. So let's explore today why that happens, how that happens, how our thoughts affect the severity of it, and how, of course, we can control that and better ourselves to improve our experience of life. So loneliness obviously is a universal human experience. I don't know a single person or a single child even that ever not had the experience of loneliness. It's really like a visceral, you really feel it. It's a physical emotion that you feel it in your body. And sometimes it can creep up on you when you're in public, when you're with friends. Personally, I'll share this with you. I don't know if I shared this in the past, but I suffered from depression for a very long time in my life. And it was mind-boggling to me how I can be with people and yet feel so alone and so disconnected and feel like everything I'm going through is fake. So psychologists, they define it as a distressing feeling that comes when our social needs are not being met by the quantity or quality of our relationship. So it's not just about being alone, it's about feeling alone. It's about feeling disconnected. There's a great difference, as we all know, between being alone and feeling lonely. So why do we feel lonely? So there are many, many reasons. Some of them can actually be true, realistic. If you're moving to a different country or a different city, or even to a different neighborhood in your city, if you're moving to a different school or a workspace or a workplace, if you're ending a relationship, sometimes it's even when a pet dies, something that was so close to you, so emotionally close to you, that's gone and you feel lonely. It's almost like you don't have the support that you need. But there's internal factors that are completely, again, disconnected from our reality, like just a low self-esteem, a fear of rejection. So understanding the root of why why it is that I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. It's not just about loneliness, it's about anything that we're feeling. Understanding the root of it helps us to deal with it, to handle it. It's the first step to addressing it, right? If it's a external thing, then I'll address that. But if it's an internal thing, then I have to address that. So one common misconception is that sometimes loneliness is just a need to be more socially active, to be more socially engaged, to have more social interactions. So while having a social network, a strong social network is important, it's very important actually, again, loneliness often stems from something deeper. It's about a connection to our inner selves. And as you know, this podcast is all about looking inwards and changing our external reality through our inner work. So if I'm experiencing loneliness and disconnection from the outside world, I have to go inwards and see, where am I disconnected from myself? Where can I connect or reconnect with myself? And our thoughts have a major part in this game that we're playing. Because it's not just an external situation, it's how I interpret the external situation. Like I said before, I can be with friends, I can be with loved ones or people that love me and still feel no one cares about me. And still feel, like I told you before, like I mentioned before, this is all fake. I'm not interesting enough to be in this group. I'm not worthy enough. They don't really like me. They're just doing me a favor. I'll always be alone. I'll always feel lonely. These thoughts create a spiral of negativity, a spiral of negative emotions, and making me feel more and more lonely. It's weighing me down. It's pulling me down. It's making me feel even more overwhelmed, because not only am I lonely now, but I'll feel this for the rest of my life. Not only am I just lonely, but I'm also not worthy or not loved or not connected or any other interpretation that I'm creating to this circumstance that I'm seeing. So how do we break the cycle? Like I always ask, how do we break the cycle and overcome this feeling of loneliness? And as you know, this is not just about, because I know and I have clients, it's not just about saying, and I used to be this way, I'll sit home and I'll wait for the phone to ring so that somebody can pull me out of my loneliness. And the fact that the phone is not ringing is just proof that I'm not worthy. So all of a sudden I'm seeing reality as proof of what I'm feeling. This is the law of attraction. This is the law of resonance. As within, so without, right? So from the outside, we see what's inside. So it's about owning and taking responsibility. But the first step is we have to embrace self-discovery before we can take responsibility. We have to get to know ourselves. Like I said, finding the root of the situation. Is it an external root or is it internal? If it's internal, what are my needs at this moment? What am I really thinking? What's the reality of the situation? We need to start becoming comfortable being in our own company, being alone, not lonely, but alone. And I have a friend of mine, and she's fantastic. She's not dating, she's not in a relationship, and she said, I just love being alone. And obviously you can interpret a lot of other issues to it, but sometimes it's really, really nice to be alone. And if you're not content with being with you, if you're not content with who you are, then obviously you'll put more weight on your connections with others, and that creates dependency, and that creates disappointment, and that creates the spiral of negativity because you might feel lonely when reality doesn't play in accordance to your expectations. So what can we do? Let's go practical here. So here are some practical steps to start this self-connection journey. self-discovery and self-connection. So the first step is the self-reflection. It's also external reflection, but it goes back inwards to the self-reflection. Stop and take time. I'll share with you this last weekend even. I came to the end of it. It was Saturday night. I came to the end of it and I was like, oh, this weekend was so overwhelming. I did not have a chance to think. Do you know these days where you're like, I don't even know when did I get a chance to think, or when? So for me, to think means to connect, because it's about listening to my inner voice. So take a few moments each day and make sure that you're connected, that you're like checking in. How am I feeling? How am I thinking? What am I thinking? And how does that affect my feeling? So as I always suggest, journaling. If you're into journaling, that's a good way of letting that outlet. It's a powerful tool. It's very powerful. I keep saying it, so maybe one day I'll start journaling, but I don't. But you can write about your experiences. You can write about your thoughts. You can write about your feelings. You can write about your fears if you have them. Anything that comes up, it's a great way of just pouring your heart out. And it really releases that energy and tension that's bottled up. So you can understand yourself better and you can uncover. But if you're not into that, if you're not into writing, you can paint it, draw it, or you can just pause for a second and just understand, like, okay, what am I feeling? Like, just talk to yourself. Have this inner dialogue of saying, what am I feeling? What am I thinking? Where does this come from? Is this really true? Is this really me? Is this really what's going on? How can I help myself right now? Just have this inner dialogue and you'll understand that the two voices, the one that's in question, in fear, in nervousness, in loneliness, has a partner that has this wisdom that comes through. And you have this wisdom that can come through. I guarantee that. Now, the next step. We talked about self-reflection. The next step is mindfulness and meditation. So I will admit I haven't been meditating lately for a while now. And I can really see how that creates the disconnection from self. Like, I really miss the times where I was meditating and I was so connected to my inner voice and things were just flowing such more easily. Because practicing mindfulness and meditation, it really helps us stay present and connected to our inner self. And sometimes when life is chaotic, that's all we need is a few moments to go back and just be with our thoughts and with our feelings and with the nothingness. If you know Abraham Hicks, they go back to saying, you can listen to the air conditioner. It's not about how you do it. It's not about doing it perfect. It's just about noticing your thoughts, letting them flow, letting them unfold, letting them rise, and just noticing them. And again, this inner dialogue of what am I feeling? I don't know how. I really don't know how. But it takes the loneliness away. It's almost like you have this personal coach in your heart that's rooting for you and supporting you on your journey. So try that. I have to go back to meditating. The third thing that I'm sharing is pursue your interests. So we talked a little bit about painting and drawing for the self-expression of feeling and thoughts, but it can also be just a creative outlet. So it could be any hobbies that you might like. So once you start going inwards, you say, what it is that I like? Oh, I like this walk that I'm taking. Why don't I do more of these? So noticing the moments that are good is really, really crucial to taking out the loneliness. I call it popping the loneliness bubble. Because if I'm experiencing a moment of I'm walking down, I'm taking a little hike, or I'm walking with my dog, I'm saying, you know what? When I walk my dog, I feel good. Or I feel good right after. Or so just noticing these little things, or when I do the dishes, it relaxes me. if you're one of those people. But anything that helps you feel good, notice it. Put a little note to self, dishwashing, doing the dishes makes me feel good, and do more of that. So anything that gives you a sense of fulfillment, do it. It could be the smallest thing. It can be cleaning the house. It could be just finding like-minded people that like to talk about poetry or art or singing or being in a choir. It just gives you something positive to focus on. So find who you are and what you like and go do and be that. And lastly, set goals, because goals give you purpose. Goals give you focus. Go get goals. Go goals. And it gives you a sense of direction. It gives you something to wake up in the morning to do. It could be the smallest thing, like cleaning the house. I don't know why today is all about cleaning metaphors, but it could be the smallest thing, like cleaning the house. It could be working towards something. It could be gardening if you're into that. It could be playing games if you're like achieving like a new record if you're playing games. It could be a sport activity that you want to set a goal to. Anything that can boost your self-esteem, gives you a sense of accomplishment, gives you a sense of fulfillment, and reduces any feeling of loneliness, because you're in this internal dialogue of go me, I'm doing better, I'm achieving my goals. And every time you achieve your goals, you're going to notice that you generate this positive thought, that you give yourself a boost of adrenaline, and that increases your sense of worth and the feeling of capabilities that you have. And it also gives you something to talk about to people, which create connection. So this is connection to self. Like I started to explore setting goals. You can talk to other people about it. Let's talk about what we do and how we kind of change when we're in a public scenario, how can we create connections to others, like truly create connection and not experience, as I have, a situation where you're just feeling lonely and you start going into your head, because I've done that so many times. I've been in a social environment, in a party or something, and all I see, and I'm sure you can relate, all I see is the thoughts that people are having and they're not saying. So I don't know if I was paranoid, I was really reading minds, it doesn't matter, but I knew it was giving me a bad energy. So whenever I was going inwards and I was like, oh, these people are talking, these two girls are pretending to be friends, but they really don't like each other. So all of a sudden I'm being judgmental. I'm seeing them all as fake. I'm seeing this all as pointless and worthless. And I'm going inwards and I'm sinking deeper and deeper. And what happens in the end? I get out of the party. I'm miserable. I feel even more lonely. And it's a lose-lose situation. I lost all connections. I'm feeling worse. And it's just, and it's not going to give me any motivation to try to create it again, right? So how do we break that cycle of disconnection when we're in a scenario of connection? First and foremost, be present. Really be present. Like active listening, there was an episode in my podcast about active listening, is being present with others. Truly listen. Put away your phone, put away social media, make eye contact. And active listening is about listening from your heart, being curious, showing genuine interest in someone else's life. Yes, you're not the center of the universe. Remember? Life is about creation, connection, communication, community, creation. This is who we are. And it's about you to create that. The world doesn't need to come into you. You need to come out to the world. Again, I'll say that because it came out really well. The world doesn't need to come into you. You need to come out to the world. So if you're showing genuine interest in someone else's life, they feel connected to you. And guess what? You feel connected to them. Win-win. Do that. Create trust. Create intimacy. Be there for other people. Don't focus on you. Focus on the conversation. If you focus on the conversation and the other person, you're less likely to get caught in that spiral of negativity and that mind clutter that goes on when you're talking about yourself all the time. Be active about joining groups or clubs. Remember about how once you discover who you are and what you like and what your interests are and your hobbies are, go find that. Who does that? Where do they do that? Is it a book club? Is it a going to the movies club? Is it a taking a hike club? Is it a volunteer organization? Anything and anything that you can create that has a group of people experiencing, having the same interests, go find that. That gives you a sense of belonging. It gives you opportunities to create connections with people that are like your peers, that like the same things that you like. So shared interests are truly beautiful common ground that lead to connection, to really deep connections. Now, the third thing, again, I'm saying this as a foundation to anything, is reaching out. Not only reaching out, actively listening, not only reaching out to a group or a community, but reaching out to initiate contact. Pick up the phone. Write the email, create the get together. So reach out to friends, reach out to family, reach out to colleagues, be active, write them a text. Hey, what's up? What are you doing? I'm going to a movie. You want to come? Don't worry about getting rejection. People have their life full and busy. Spread. In the Ultimate Coach book, the book that I love so much that I'm translating to Hebrew, the book by Amy Hardison, Steve Hardison finds his wife, and when he does so, he was sending out Valentine cards to a bunch of girls, 20 girls, and he had an extra one, so he sent it to Amy. He was reaching out for opportunities, and he met the love of his life, and they've been together ever since, and they love each other deeply. They're a model of the perfect, not the perfect, it's challenging, but it's an amazing relationship. But he did that through reaching out. He sent out 20 cards, and the right one picked up. So don't worry about getting rejected. Don't worry about getting a no. Be proactive. Nurture your relationship. Remember, it's other people on the other side of the screen, on the other side of the phone. They may feel lonely too. So why not you be the one reaching out and not be the one waiting on the phone for someone else to reach out to you? And with that comes the importance of being vulnerable and authentic. Because when you're creating connections, share your truth. Like, share who you really are. If you're having a shitty day, you can say, I'm having a shitty day. But it's okay. You don't need to be dependent on someone else. Nobody likes that. Steve Chandler says, needy is creepy, right? Don't be needy. It's not about that. It's about, you can be vulnerable. You can say, I'm having a shitty day. I'm having a hard time. I'm having a struggle in my life. I'm fearing this, that, or the other. That creates connection. It can encourage them to do the same if you're also there for them. You can have your emotions. You can experience your emotions. You can be open about your emotions. Just don't linger in them, because then you're going inwards instead of trying to open up to someone else. So try that. Try being open, vulnerable. But don't make the negative thoughts about yourself, about like, woe is me. Use that as a platform of connection. So I'm saying this with a little ostrich saying like, is it an ostrich? What's the word? Little star. But anyway, don't go too deep in that. Vulnerable is beautiful, but I'll use it as more as being authentic as opposed to just bitching about life. All right? And the opposite of that is practicing empathy. Because if somebody is vulnerable with you, if somebody is sharing their struggles with you, then you need to be open to be empathetic and understanding to what other people are going through. So this is where you open your heart to receive and to give. Because practicing empathy, and this is something that I'm training my kids a lot on, it not only connects you with other people, it does create a connection with yourself. It helps you grow and create a deeper understanding to relationships in general. So it's like a muscle that you work on for yourself, because it shifts your focus from your own negative thoughts to being for somebody else. So up until now, we've talked about what we can do to take responsibility for ourselves, whether it's connecting to our own personal inner environment and our own personal external environment. And yet sometimes I have to say it also is important to seek professional help, because you might need someone that's just going to be like a wailing wall type thing. You just need to you're overflowing, you're overwhelmed, and you just need to release those anxieties, those stresses. So if you need to get a therapist or a counselor, or sometimes just a little, like a good masseuse, like a good massage to release that tension in your body, any professional help that you like, whether it's alternative or more mainstream, seek it if you feel that helps. And I started this episode by saying I'm so glad you're here, because this is you reaching out. One of the really good ways is using technology in our favor. Using social media a lot of the time does more harm than good. But using technology, video calls, online communities, social media groups that are really, really helpful and beneficial for you, is really beautiful. Seeing YouTube movies that are inspiring to you, that give you tools, that are educating to you, that push you up and not down. Sometimes it's even social media breaks, weaning off technology. So I don't know where you are, but you have to, this goes back to number one, checking in with yourself. What am I feeling? Who am I? Where am I? Is what do I like? Is sometimes understanding like, oh, if I'm going on YouTube, if I'm going on social media, I don't feel well after. I feel more lonely. So it's checking in. So maybe I shouldn't do that. This is you taking responsibility for your life and understanding like, this is what happens when I'm on social media. Sometimes when I'm on a video call, it makes me feel more lonely. Don't do it. Sometimes when I'm on a video call, it makes me feel more connected. Do it. It's up to you. No one is coming. The answer is you. You're the one that knows who you are, what you need, and go do that. Don't rely on somebody else to save you from your loneliness. You're the one that needs to go be active and take responsibility for the way you're feeling. Even though it feels like you're a victim to your circumstances when you're lonely, but even if you're moving to a new city and you're going to say, hey, Ofri, I'm really lonely because I am really in a new city. Well, do you think if staying home is going to help? Do you think staying home is going to help you? Help that loneliness? No, you're going to have to push yourself out the door and go sit in the park and try to start a conversation with someone. Go sit in the cafe and try to start a conversation with someone. I remember when I was living in Los Angeles, I had nothing. And I would literally start talking to people in the cafe and saying, hi, I'm Ofri. I'm new in the city. I don't have a car. I don't have an apartment. I don't have a job. And I don't have any friends. Can you help me with either one of these? And people were like, well, not really, but I can be your friend. Or people were like, well, you know what? We're just hiring. And this would really help. People would laugh because I would be so upfront. But this was really where I was. And I was like, how am I going to solve this situation? I don't know anyone. So I'm just going to start talking to people and see if they can help me. And they did. Guess what? People love to help. So go do that. All right. So as we wrap up today's episode, I want you to remember something. Loneliness sometimes feel like an external situation that you just caught in. But it's a natural part of a human experience. The fact that you're feeling lonely, you're not alone in this. It's just a signal that your body, your heart, your soul, your mind wants to create a connection. It wants to create a connection with yourself, and it wants to create a connection with other people. So by embracing self-discovery and actively seeking meaningful relationship, using technology mindfully, all those can help you overcome loneliness to create a more fulfilling life. But you're the one that's going to have to choose to do so. You're the one that's going to have to pop the bubble of loneliness and be proactive. Because don't forget, your thoughts do play a crucial role in whether or not you have the personal power, the personal willpower, the personal strength, driving force to create something new or to stay in the old and familiar. So by recognizing which part of your thoughts, the negative or the positive, the disempowering or the empowering, which one are you listening to? Once you recognize that and you say, well, I'm listening to the disempowering one, that's your choice. There's nothing nobody can do. But you're like, I got an empowering thoughts. I'm going to push with it. I'm going to run with it. That's going to be my riding horse. I'm going to ride that one. Then you can actually move forward and achieve and create something new. So I hope you got a lot from this, because this is really dear to my heart. And I want to thank you for joining me once again, whether you're tuning in, listening, or watching this, and share with me. Was this helpful? Was this meaningful? You can find me at www.ofrifuchs, that's OFRIFUCHS, F as in Fox, UCHS as in Sam.com. And write me a note. Tell me where you are and what else do you need to help you create the best version of your life and yourself that you can. I love you. I thank you. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.